Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to my channel, Scree Magic. The first story I want to share with you, it's a story that I wrote years ago, and it's a pure fantasy story, and that's where the title from the channel comes from, Scree Magic. Now, a lot of times magic doesn't work because of the small things, like if you say something wrong or if you make a wrong gesture or something like that, then it won't work. So I came up with the word magic because that is what most closely resembles what it truly is. Now, this is a channel where there's nothing but pure voices. It could be my voice or a guest voice, but you won't hear any, how do we say that? Artificial voices. It will always be a real voice. Real stories, real mistakes. The settings that I have will just be in my friend's home studio. It could be on a couch. It can be in a park. So you won't always have that pure studio sound. Sometimes you will hear birds. You will hear the neighbors. You can hear anything. But anyway, long story short, I hope that comforts you in some way, that the voice you will hear telling you stories will be my authentic voice or one of my friends' authentic voices. The first story is Scree Magic, a recipe for disaster. Disclaimer, this is my story. I wrote it myself, copywritten and protected and everything like that. The story can be a bit racy at times, so I wouldn't recommend that children under 14 or 15 listen to this story or read this story. But of course, every adult has their own discretion. My settings will be on adults only, but I wrote it with like young teenagers, 17 and up in mind. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1, Scree Magic, a recipe for disaster. Chapter 1, a social visit. It was a long, hot, tedious drive from Las Vegas to the modest little home in Death Valley, California. Well, long for most. Joyce was used to the drive and made it in high spirits. She would be checking up on her charge, Emily, and her sweet grandma, whom she called Little Mother. She did not know why she addressed Emily's mother thus. The first time it just popped out of her mouth, and since there was no correction given, Joyce took it as a sign of approval. In all honesty, Little Mother was the real reason for Joyce's frequent visits. Just to be in her presence made Joyce feel like more. She was the mother Joyce never had and someone she never wanted to lose. Anytime Joyce had a serious problem, she knew a good talk with Little Mother would lead her to the right course of action. And then there was the time Little Mother saved her life. She knew it was not possible, yet she believed it was Little Mother who appeared before the oncoming double-decker bus and somehow stopped it in its tracks. At the time, Joyce's boyfriend, slant boss, now ex on both, got angry on the way home from a party. Not being man enough to admit he was wrong, he chose to use Joyce as a punching bag before kicking her out of his speeding car and into oncoming traffic. She would have died had it not been for Little Mother. Divine intervention is what the authorities called it. A miracle case is what the doctors, nurses, and other hospital staff said of her complete recovery in 3 days. No scars, no inner trauma. It seemed as though her body spontaneously healed itself in 3 days. Joyce remembered seeing Little Mother in the hospital every time she woke up. She remembered obediently drinking the cold, bubbly water and sweet tasting tea Little Mother offered her. The strange thing was, no one at the hospital remembered seeing anyone enter Joyce's room, besides her doctors and nurses. Joyce felt Little Mother also had something to do with the quick settlement, raise, and new position the city of Las Vegas gave her. Things like that don't happen in these times to normal people, people like her, with no significant connections. In actuality, the new position was a breeze. The people working under her knew their jobs better than she and did not need looking after. It was clear after a few months she was not really needed to do anything more except be the face of the vastly improved modern caring child welfare system. This meant doing interviews, photo ops, going to fundraising dinners, and hanging out with the city politicals. Wednesday was always phone interview day, and the day she visited her one charge, Emily. As a sort of thank you, Joyce featured Little Mother in her first magazine article. In several photos, Emily was blurred in the background doing her homework, while in the clear foreground, Joyce sat talking intimately with Little Mother about the methods she employed for homeschooling Emily. That interview was so well received, the city encouraged her to keep regular contact with Emily and her sweet photogenic grandma. The magazine article went viral and totally changed the way the country looked at the child welfare system. It was a great story of triumph in the face of disaster. As a result, no one questioned why it took 6 hours once a week for Joyce to check up on her charge. Just to be safe, she scheduled her telephone interviews to coincide with the weekly visits. Between the drive up and back, she could do 10 or more interviews. Joyce was extra excited on this occasion because she found something special for Little Mother. On a visit to Boulder City, she went inside a small knick-knack shop and was drawn to a table in a neglected corner of the shop. The table looked like it was about to collapse under its heavy burden of old Native American clothing. Standing before the table, Joyce felt a bit silly and wondered why she was even in the shop in the first place. Ignoring that non-believer part of herself, she began going through the pile of clothing. Not even halfway through, her hand wrapped around a chain and pulled out a beautiful antique necklace. It was clearly copper brown indigenous American or African, with a queen as a centerpiece. The strange thing was, there were tears forming in the queen's eyes. For some reason, it reminded Joyce of her hospital stay and Little Mother. She knew it was silly, but she had to buy it for Little Mother. The shop owner had no idea where the necklace came from, but was happy to charge her $20 for it. Smiling at the memory, Joyce took a sharp right, just past the big black tattered umbrella planted between and providing shade for the two small wooden benches which acted as the only bus stop for miles around. She drove down the long, bumpy dirt road until her car disappeared from roadside view behind a giant rock formation. Just past the rock formation, the road curved sharply and began its meandering descent into a tiny dell. Almost immediately, the road began its ascent to the small house on the hill. It was a huge hill, The small blue and white house stood almost at its center. As always, Joyce asked herself how anyone could stand to live in almost total isolation with only an annoying teenager to keep her company. She assumed Little Mother inherited the sprawling, undeveloped property along with the house and just couldn't bear to part with either. Joyce felt Little Mother was a savior. She saved the house, land, Emily, and even herself. Joyce.